All right, so you finally reached Diamond, but now you've hit a wall. So you wanna know the biggest reason why you might not still be hitting Radiant? I got one word for you guys, and that is consistency. All of you may now know that ranked is filled with randomness, but with the right tools, a great player will stay consistent no matter the circumstance. I'm Keith Allen, your motivation guy, and today we're gonna be comparing the difference between Diamond and Radiant players and giving you our own Radiant coaches tips and tools that you should be trying out in your games. You guys ready for this? Let's get this going. It's really hard to pinpoint consistency because it's an attribute that really encompasses all parts of your play. And that means, guys, even if you might not be playing well, based on your aim or decision making or even communication, a consistent player can play off of other strengths if something isn't up to par during that game day. So a big issue that many players face is that, if they're not able to really win their 1v1 gun duels, they'll try to give up completely sometimes. And, any great player knows that winning your fights isn't the only way to win a game. And so with that being said, guys, all right, we're gonna focus on things that you can specifically do, even if you're not, doing well with aim-wise or you're just not playing so hot, all right? Either way, these tools are gonna help you become a more rounded out player that's going to allow you to adapt to all types of teammates and enemies and situations. You guys ready for this? Here we go. All right, so before we get into the rest of this video, all right, we got our question of the day. What do you guys think about the state of Yoru? Although, we don't think that he's necessarily bad. Personally, I believe he's probably the weakest agent in the game by far. Yoru is a duelist, but, it's really hard to pick him over any of the current duelists that are available. And I think a nice buff to his ultimate and his footsteps can make him just a much more viable agent. But we're gonna see what Riot plans to do with him soon. Do you guys disagree with my take, or do you guys think that Yoru is currently pretty weak? Let us know in the comment section below. If you're not trying to actively gather information for you or for your team at certain points of the round, you're going to be in the dark on how to react properly and are often going to be taking harder fights than you have to. And so the easiest example of how to gather info is by using an ability or two at the start of the round to get an idea of what's happening on the map. Agents like Sova, Sky, Cypher, Killjoy, and Raze are all great examples of agents that don't necessarily have to peek to find information. However, just because you're not playing one of these agents doesn't exempt you from trying to gather info. I see far too many players just sitting passively at the start of the round, waiting for things just to happen and just hope for the best. Although this can work sometimes, it does, especially if you have an idea of how the enemy likes to play more often than not. I see just players do this as a default behavior with no prior information gathered. For example, you can flash early and peek an area of the map for info. If you see nothing, you have the ability to hold the angle, push forward, or back off. Not only does it help you to get info that can help you rotate early or open the map up to you potentially flanking, but also helps you to be prepared if the enemies might be coming to you. Once you have the information that there are enemies nearby, you can always just fall back to a more favorable position. Even if nothing is happening for a while, you can just always try and find more information or just take a guess and rotate. Trading is a behavior that the best players in the game have deeply ingrained in their gameplay. If you're not consciously aware of the trading aspect in Valorant, you will quickly lose rounds and not understand exactly why. There are always games where you and your teammates are just better or just winning their individual fights. But let me ask you this. What happens when you and your teammates are having a rough time? And at this time, you really have to ask yourself if you're putting yourself in a position to trade. This way, even if your teammates loses their fight, you will always be there to get the trade kill and ultimately keeping your team in an even player count. Trading is especially important on the attacker side because having an even player count is actually advantageous for your team, as the defenders are usually just spread out thinner than you guys. And you can then use that to your advantage by just grouping up if you aren't already and just push through to a site. So don't be afraid, guys, to go to the opposite site when you trade a kill or get a free pick, as defenders will often just rotate early when players die. And this is especially important if you notice that you're running into a lot of defenders in one area. It's really easy to get excited to push an area, but pay attention if you believe that you guys have the timing to do so, right? You might not get many teammates that communicate in your games right now. However, in many high-rated Radiant lobbies, people are just communicating a lot more. This habit is something that you want to start developing as early as possible because, it can really just greatly help you and your teammates succeed or just be on a similar page with you. Some great things that you definitely should start communicating are information and self-calls. So information like, what utility is being used around you and if you spot any enemies. For example, Omen smoke B-side, or Raze use Roomba, or, 3 coming into the site. Self calls can really just range from just talking about how you want to use your ultimate, fighting somebody, or holding an angle. And this could sound like, all right, guys, I'm going to use my Phoenix ult to push B-side. I'm peeking and fighting showers. I'm holding U-Haul. Regardless of the specifics, the idea is really just to communicate what you see or hear around you and the decisions you decide to make. Communicating can also help you to really better understand your thought process and really help figure out mistakes that you might be making. A common mistake is that players don't really know what to do in a situation, so they don't make one at all. So this is a one-way road, guys, to really being unable to improve, because if you don't make a decision yourself, it's really hard for you to learn and really improve. We can't have a fear of failure. You got to go for it. Because at its core, communicating is basically verbalizing your decisions. And it may be scary at first, but it's an important skill that you have to have in any game or field that you pursue in the future. So as you get more comfortable with these two ways of communicating, you can really start adding teammates or team calls into the mix. But let me tell you this, be careful, because some players don't like getting told what to do. And this is why it's just important to pay attention to how your teammates like to play and match their tempo and really just secure those trades. All right, guys, so it's easy to get stuck in a rut, especially when you haven't been having so much luck winning your ranked games, right? And on that note, it's also easy to feel like your teammates are holding you back. However, the best players don't really focus on aspects of the game that are just out of their control. And let me tell you this, you shouldn't either. And best believe, man, you have the tool set available to carry any game that you play. And even if you fail now, there are always going to be chances to improve and really just get back at it again, all right? Self-improvement can be a plethora of things, but it's really best to take things one at a time. Try your best to identify your weaknesses and just work on them, just one by one, until you feel satisfied with your progress. That's how you improve. It's a journey, but you got to take it step by step by step. And those of you who aren't too sure about your weaknesses, hey, let me tell you this. Feel free to visit ProGuides.com. I know we say it all the time, but man, it is really helping so many people. And let me tell you this, coaches are going to be able to help you on your rank climb journey. Whether it be identifying weaknesses or just getting general help, our coaches are really happy to help you guys improve at a faster rate. Let me ask you guys this. Have you guys ever heard of this saying, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Funny enough, this type of thought process really works well at climbing ranked. If you haven't already, you should assume that the enemy will continue to do things that really work for them. So you guys got to make sure that you're preparing for that, all right? If they've successfully hit a site and won the round, you can make an educated guess that they're going to come right back to that. Especially in ranked, players would choose comfort more than any other thing because they're playing with random players and they want to make things easy. And this can mean that, you can flank early, rotate early, or even just stack the site that you think that they're going to hit. But on the flip side, all right, pay attention to this habit that you might be doing as well. If you successfully made a play or pushed a site, you guys got to think twice before you just go for the same thing again. All right, so see if you could just change up the timing, do an entirely different play, or hit the other side. This change alone can really give you and your team way more rounds that otherwise would just go down the drain due to this habit. So to summarize, try not to overthink what your enemy is doing. If, what they've been doing has worked before, make sure that you're adding mix-ups to your own behavior as well. You want to assume what they might do, but make sure that you're staying unpredictable. All right, guys, so a major mistake that we see is players fishing for kills when in reality, the kills will come to you if you're playing properly. I think a great mindset is really to focus on making yourself annoying to deal with or kill before you think too much about killing people. This could be playing annoying angles, using abilities with your peaks or even trading with teammates, as we mentioned before. It can sometimes feel like once we fight one player, we have to keep fighting. Veteran players will reflect for a moment and then recognize if they have the time to reposition for a mix-up angle or utilize their utility to help with your upcoming gunfights. So the best way that I can really describe this is when a player is defending. So when many players are getting swarmed by multiple enemies, a common mistake is to keep re-peeking over and over again. And a lot of times, I see these players, so have great utility to flashes or dashes and damage abilities that can really make those fights much easier. But more often than not, instead of just getting multiple kills, these players will kill one and then die re-peeking again. Simply repositioning off that first peek or kill or utilizing any leftover utility can really make a difference between, you being that player that holds down sites by himself or just dies instantly for free. All right, guys, so this is the easiest way to reach Radiant, but it's often overlooked. Warming up is super important, but the biggest factor is keeping it consistent. And this is going to make you both physically and mentally prepared to tackle your ranked games. Otherwise, you might extremely just underperform in your first game, which can really take your rank. And regardless, if you like to use the range, deathmatch or third-party aim trainers, you can also mix and match, whatever you feel works best for you. Besides, trying to keep your warm-up as consistent as possible is also equally important to not, overwork or underwork yourself. If you're tired from your warm-up or not warmed up enough, both will hinder your performance in your ranked games. Only you know really how much warm-up you need before you really go to do so. So, if you're not warming up already, start developing that ASAP. A consistent and well-rounded warm-up will make sure that you're not thinking about your aim and really playing the game to your fullest potential. So consistency is king here, guys, and I really hope this guide, really helps shed a light on some of the habits and techniques that Radiant level players are just actively using in their ranked games. We only touched the surface with this one, but let us know if you guys really liked the video, and you never know, we might make a part 2. Also remember to like the video if you guys liked it, subscribe to the channel, and connect with my Instagram at Your Motivation Guy. Guys, keep grinding, never stop, never quit. I'll see you soon.